Welcome to Get Tied On, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tom Amello, and he's Michael Kipnis, the Wizard, and we're here for GTO's recap of this past weekend's 152nd running of the Kentucky Derby. And I think the running of the race, Michael, really sang the song of every lyric we've ever heard of running a derby, the running of a derby. Everything happened.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
You know, we invest a fair amount of time in analyzing and hypothesizing and looking at what we think are immutables and unchangeables and things we can kind of hang a hat on. And in the final analysis, when they open the gates, whatever you were thinking before, start rewriting.
Yeah, I mean, as you could see, when a maiden almost runs a huge race to hit the board, and the horse that won comes from dead last to win the Derby at 22-1. It's you can't hard to predict that.
Well, Michael, I'll interrupt you here. This is a classic trifecta: bad feet on maiden, right? Both the winner and the runner-up had well-documented foot issues. Certainly not foot issues that would keep them from running, because they both ran well with those foot issues. But things like that are supposed to give you pause.
Yeah, I know for certain. But they know how to treat these injuries or these little things that perk up. The vets would never have let them run if there was really an issue. So, but they were the only two that they really spoke about these issues, different shoes.
Annoyances. Let's call them annoyances.
Yeah. I mean, you're kind of looking for negatives when you handicap a race like the Derby. That was a little bit of a negative, the way I approached it, amongst other things, other reasons I didn't pick the winner. And on retrospect, when I look back on the replays today and thought about it, I think I made a little bit of an error in judgment, not including that horse in at least the top 5 selections. I have to admit that I took things more at face value than really thinking about it. And we'll go into that, a little bit later. How did you do in the Derby? How was your Derby day?
Oh, my Derby day was like lots of folks' Derby day. I preferred the front half of the pack. So I had an interest in Further Ado,
I'm not talking about the Derby itself. I'm
yes.
talking about betting the whole Oaks and Derby card. So tell the viewers let's tell the viewers about your day, your 2 days at the races, while you sat and sipped martinis both days, laid on the couch and enjoyed it. Tell the viewers, because you've experienced this tell the viewers exactly how you spent the 2 days.
How did I spend the 2 days? I spent the 2 days as has sort of become my custom. I call you midweek and we discuss the Derby, and then you ask the question, am I riding or am I sitting out? And I usually say I'm riding, at which point we then decide how much I'm riding for. And so I hook my wagering wagon to the Wizard, and I watch and calculate and sweat through the tickets you write for the both of us, which are basically the same tickets that you give out on your sheet. And, listen, most folks who know me know that my daily bankroll might be in the 300 to 500 range. Okay. I'm not a huge gambler or huge bettor. I like to pick my spots and I'll make my plays. You have a much higher threshold. And so when I'm playing with you, I benefit from every opportunity you create for us to have a score together. And we did pretty well. You did very well this weekend. You had good picks, and you you wrote enough horizontal and vertical wagers um, to leverage your picks into a really good weekend. So I did reasonably well.
You did. You did. We both did. But what was the fun part of it is I would make the bets and then I would have to take a picture of the bets,
Yeah.
right? And send it to you. Well, I must have sent 178 pictures.
You filled the screen. You filled the screen. You filled the queue, if you will. And actually, most of the time, this game is really between the bettor and his confessor, his priest. We don't walk around, playing the same thing that other people do too often. We don't, it's not really the nature of the game. We've been doing it for a while because it makes sense. It makes sense for me because when you're right, I'm right, and we're both right. And I got a chance to make a bigger score because of the overall amount that's in the wager that I'm not going to make. And so what I'm getting at is that while most folks rarely talk with other folks about how they wager, I just love watching you punch out tickets because you can punch out tickets better than I could. I could hit letters faster than I can put letters on a QWERTY board. So it's a fun experience.
It's so from my perspective, I didn't have a good Derby Oaks last year, and I ended up betting.
I know.
I ended up betting so much money that after I calculated my sales and what I lost, I made about 30 cents an hour, right?
There you go.
So I basically lost enough money that I did not profit much from my work and my sales. So this year, as you can tell, my handle was probably about 25%, maybe 50% less than it normally was. So I think we probably bet like $8,000.
8,000 to 9,000, right?
8,000 to 9,000, where normally I would have bet like 20,000 over especially when we were on a roll on Friday. I mean, and so I cut the bets down. I was more concerned about let's get some winners for the paying customer. Let's not get hurt financially betting because I really wanted a good 2 days for my customers. So I backed away. The crazy thing about gambling is no matter how hard you work and how much you feel about the picks you make, you never know what the outcome's going to be.
Absolutely.
So you have to have a certain psychological readiness for the good and the bad. And what I mean by that is the Friday Oaks card I had picking was historic. It was the best day I think I've ever had. And what I mean is I had so many good winners and I had a 22-1 best bet that nearly wired the
Yeah,
field.
we got scavunged.
Right at the wire, near the wire, but we still collected $147 exacta for a deuce. But we had a nice winning bet on the horse. Now, here's the situation. I never thought the horse would be 22-1. I thought maybe 8-1. So I didn't give a place bet out. I gave a win and exacta boxes with 3 horses. As it turned out, the place price was 18 and change.
Yeah.
So if I bet 200 win, 200 place, and then the exactas, we at least collect a nice hit on the place bet.
Yep.
But Friday was a day that I didn't see coming, meaning it was so historic for me that I couldn't process what I was doing to be betting a lot of money. Like I just, because I didn't start out betting a lot. And I'm saying this can't continue. This can't continue having crystal ball horses pay $15, $8, $10. So, you know, we had a really, really good day on Friday, betting about 25% of what I normally bet. So we had some momentum going into Saturday. And we had some good picks on Saturday. We had some good hits on Saturday, you know, but there were races I actually did step into later in the card that we didn't hit that kind of cost us some money that day, but not nearly enough to give much back.
No.
From Friday. We together, while you're sipping your martinis and me sending you the tickets, we had, and I said to you, I feel like I'm Richard Dreyfuss in Let It Ride, the movie.
Yeah.
Where I thought nothing could go wrong.
Yeah.
I was, you know, and when we got to the Derby, I sent it in, and you know, I wasn't correct. Like I picked Commandment. I picked the horse, the other horse that came out from Mott out of the Florida Derby. Chief Wallaby. I had thrown in, you know, I had Renegade third. I threw in even a Incredibolt in there, a long shot. No matter what, I would not have hit that race. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't going to hit it, but I went in with a lot of confidence because of the 2 days I was having. So, you know, I did lose every bet on that day on the Derby, but I was never going, you know, have it. If I thought about it, I went back today and actually analyzed my mistakes that I made for both days. And we'll talk about the Derby, and I will give you what I saw in the aftermath in my review today, why I should have had the winner in my picks.
Okay. Before we go to that discussion, I think one of the most interesting moments of the day and of the NBC telecast was the smashing victory by Japanese runner T.O. Elvis, who was 30-1 on the morning line, left the gate at 12-1, and arrived at the winner's circle about a minute before the rest of the finish line about a minute before the rest of the field at 5-1. And that big odds drop caught the attention of national broadcasters Randy Moss, Mike Tirico, and Jerry Bailey. And Michael, that's the first time that a national audience of millions and millions of non-horse players got a sense for what the computer-assisted wagerers are doing to our game.
I saw it happening with my own eyes. Like, and it wasn't like I wasn't looking for it, but I looked at the favorite in the race, Knightsbridge
Right.
was 7-5. And so I did key that. I thought Knightsbridge was very strong as a key in the trifecta. So I have the board to the right of me on my computer, and I have, a monitor in front of me and a computer here. I turned, with my right eye, I just happened, they're in the gate, and I happened to look at Knightsbridge odds. And it was actually, the race had just started. He went from 7-5 to 9-5. And then I saw a couple other horses go up in price. And I'm wondering, like, that's the first thing I saw. Why is everybody going up? Somebody's got to be coming down, right?
Yeah.
So then I look, they hit the far turn and like turning for home. And there's T.O. Elvis now fourth, when he was fourth, moving. And I look at now I didn't know I didn't process that he was 12-1. I thought he was like 15-1 at the time, but he was 12-1. Then I see 5-1. And then, but it was during the race, like it happened, like turning for home. And then across the wire, and he blows away the field. So here's a horse that's getting monster money, right? Dropping the price from 12-5, wins like a champion, right? So they knew this horse was the goods. It didn't just win by a neck.
No.
It beat a really good field like Secretariat.
Yep.
I mean, so then I want to hear if the announcers, the commentators say something. So it was the first time in 2 days I took the mute button off. Okay. And the first thing I heard was what you said. They brought it to the attention of a national audience. So
and they were not comfortable.
No,
they were uncomfortable, almost unprepared to do it. They knew what they were talking about.
Absolutely.
They knew about it, but I don't think they ever thought it would be possible with the size of the pools on Derby Day.
And so we're just talking about the drop in odds in the win pool. But now let's take it a little bit further.
Yeah.
The drop in odds in the exactas. The winning exacta went from 200 and what was it, 30 or 40
I think it was 208, something like 208, 210,
to one and to
180.
No, less than. I think it was less, in half. It got cut in half. I don't know the exactas, the other probabilities, but I would love to know, right, how much money was. I want to know these things. And there should be an investigation and a public, a release of information to the public. Number one, how much money was bet on the final punch before the gates opened, right? And
I heard it was 400. It was 400. It was half of whatever the last punch was. 400 of 900, something like that.
400, 900 what?
400,000 of an overall 900,000 that came in late.
Okay, so that's almost half the money.
Yeah.
Okay, but I want to know that. I want to know the exactas, how much money came in the exactas. And I'll take it a step further, which we don't know because it's a hidden pool. The trifectas, the pick threes, everything. I want to know all the money that was bet in every situation with T.O. Elvis, right? So now we see this on a daily basis at a lot of tracks in the country.
Yes.
And there's been a public outcry about this exact thing for quite some time. But for it to happen on the biggest day, and it happened one time before in the Kentucky Derby. It was a race that I think, or not the Kentucky Derby, the Breeders' Cup Classic, when Dutchrow won he was the trainer of the winner.
White Barrio?
No, not White
No, no,
Barrio.
White.
No,
Oh,
no.
no. I know who you're talking about.
Right. It was crushed, the number, that exacta. But who knows? That's maybe a little different. That's a lot different. What we saw was so this is where reality and perception meet together in the middle of the table, because the reality is the money came in droves. The perception is I make a bet on T.O. Elvis and I'm jumping up and down thinking I just had a $26 winner. And you look at you look at the prices when they posted officially. You're at the track. You're not seeing anything. You're not hearing anything. You're jumping up and down. You had the biggest long shot you ever had at the track. And you go into the window with your ticket. You don't know anything. You know he was 12-1 when you bet, or 15-1 when you bet. And you collect 12 and change. And you say, how did that happen? Magic? Right? So it ain't good. It's not good.
I'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if anything bubbles up, if a discussion continues, or if we just move on to the Preakness.
I just hope that there's enough public outcry that continues this week, because not only do I want to know how much money was bet, I want to know where this money came from. Did somebody in Japan, because it had to come from multiple CAWs. I don't know if it came from just one. And I want to know, this horse was from Japan, 30-1 on the morning line, right? Who knew what and where and when, right? I'd like to know. I think it would make a tremendous Dick Francis novel. Really?
Yeah, no, I know.
Well, that's that.
Okay. The last thing before we go on, Mike Rapoli places himself at the center of an awful lot, not only in horse racing, but in horse racing. And he's an important figure. He's an important supporter, and he's an important player. His interaction with Irad after the second place finish, which was caught and which is circulating, was a good thing for racing, good thing for him and for Irad. No recriminations, no, from a man who's been close a lot, two people who have not won a Derby, who want to win a Derby, but it was a positive post-Derby non-winning experience. And we were lucky, I think fortunate enough to see it and hear it.
I agree. And, I had the pleasure of talking to Mike Rapoli for a while, a couple years ago at Saratoga, and I found him to be like me, like you, a typical New Yorker, right? There's something about a typical New Yorker, whether you're from Manhattan or Long Island. He's great for the game. He's outspoken. He puts his money where his mouth is. He's a gregarious cartoon character. Let's say that would probably be in a good way, a great way, right? So for him to do that on national TV, to almost feel like he won the Derby. It was
Hmm.
like you think this guy won the Derby, and then you look at Cherie DeVoe
Oh,
and her reaction as Jose tipped him outside to go after his brother. That was priceless.
yeah.
It's priceless, and just some underbelly of this Cherie DeVoe. Before we talk about the actual nuts and bolts of the Derby, Cherie DeVoe worked and learned her craft from Chad Brown. Chad Brown learned his craft from Bobby Frankel. So it's the tree. It's the Bobby Frankel tree that we all know that Bobby Frankel was one of the elite horsemen of all time. So the tree has now gone, and there's other, little limbs in different parts of the country, but the main the main parts of the tree are Chad Brown and now Cherie DeVoe. It's like Rick Pitino in basketball, the
Hmm.
Rick Pitino tree, and you can trace it to many, many coaches. So Cherie DeVoe just didn't come out of nowhere. Every year she's gotten better. She did a remarkable job with the turf filly She Feels Pretty. She won a couple races on Friday on the undercard. And it's interesting. Chad Brown wins the Oaks, and his former assistant, Cherie DeVoe, wins the Kentucky Derby. And Jose Ortiz wins both the Oaks and the Derby. He wins the Oaks aboard Always a Runner, and he wins the Kentucky Derby. So there's a lot of like storylines,
Right.
but the biggest storyline and the most important storyline is that Cherie DeVoe is the first woman ever to win the Kentucky Derby in a male dominated game.
Amen.
She wins. Jenna Antonucci
Yeah.
won a Belmont, right?
Yep.
It just shows you that in a male dominated game, hallelujah, that
Yeah.
a woman could win something so prestigious, and how she handled herself, and just seeing her on camera being like she was in her own excitement world, like her own, nothing kind of existed around her but her emotions, right? And for that little, from the eighth pole home, and it was so wonderful, it was so good for the game. It was really a great, not only was it a great race, one of the great Kentucky Derbies we've ever seen, but there's such a good story
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah. I'll add one thing that more often than not doesn't happen with the men. She's in the winner's circle and she's holding her child. You know, she's not just a woman trainer. She's a mother. She's a wife. We are not only what people see us doing, and you know, all our lives are much more complicated, much more rich, much more uh, chaotic than in a moment like that where the only thing you're thinking about is, well, I won something big. I won the Oscar. I won the Derby. I won the MVP or whatever it is, and you know, it's good, at least from my perspective, that it was a family winners circle photo.
Her sister, Adrienne
Yeah,
DeVoe, has recently gone out and become a public trainer. She, even her, the emotions spilled
yeah,
over.
yeah,
And her
yeah,
husband, David Ngordo, who really, it's unbelievable. He didn't even want to be, he wasn't even like, he
right.
wanted all he wanted
Yeah,
all the spotlight to be on his wife, Cherie.
yeah,
David Ngordo was a premier bloodstock
yep,
agent.
yeah.
And so there's so much knowledge in that group, right? That I always thought she was an outstanding trainer, and winning did not come. There's no luck involved here.
No.
There's
Well,
there's luck.
yeah,
No, there's luck. There's luck in
yeah,
everything. There's luck
yeah,
that when we cross the street, we're not run over by a
yeah,
truck.
that's right.
But what she did to get this horse to peak at this day is, and she was somewhat confident, was
Yeah.
really a testament to her skill as a trainer. And I
Okay.
have to say one other
Yeah.
thing.
Go ahead.
I know Jose Ortiz. He's ridden a horse for me. I he so I think the best rider in the country is Flavian Pratt. And I think Jose Ortiz is second with his brother, 1-1A, right?
Hmm.
Jose Ortiz's ride was Hall of Fame, star ride aboard the winner.
Okay.
And
All
we'll
right.
talk about the dissection of the race.
Yeah. Let's. All right. You dissect the race. Bottom line is 1919 went in, and I think it was So Happy who took out the inside horses at the break. Correct.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
And
Let's
also
start
to
there.
me, and also to me, the most overbet horse of the one of the horses that were taking money. I
I
mean,
think
he
that was an
drifted
emotional bet. I think that was an emotional bet on the Glack family story. That
100%,
that's what
100%,
I think.
100%. But no, he was a horse that I threw out, and even going back after and seeing, was I right? I go back. Am I right or wrong on any of
You
these?
were right.
I that one I was right, because no son of Run Happy with a sprint, but his dam side wasn't also a lot of distance. But then the Run Happy, I didn't like. I didn't like the Santa Anita Derby per se as a
I
race.
think that's more important. You know, when you talk about the efforts of the three that came from the Santa Anita Derby, and we had this conversation: was it good? Was it not good? I really didn't like the Santa Anita Derby, so
Right.
and
So
they ran
yeah,
that way.
the I told you before when we were talking about this race the day before.
Yeah.
I said the pace is going to be solid.
Yep.
It was solid. And I thought the pace was going to melt down.
Yeah. There was no question in my mind that the front was in trouble. I didn't think the up close to the front, but not on the front. What do you want to call them? So if 19 went, if there are four or five, six on the front, I'm talking about the second six. I I didn't think the second six would fold the way they did,
I
except
agree. I agree.
except for the Japanese horse.
Right. And Dana Bourbon ran very well.
Huge.
Very well. I mean, he was the only pace survivor.
Yeah.
And he only really tired in like the last, maybe 16th of a mile, last 100 yards. He ended up finishing fifth. He was beaten ahead for fourth. You had Ocelli, who, of all the long shots, Ocelli is a maiden coming out of what I felt was a weak Wood Memorial. He ends up running third. And if he doesn't log in late, he might have even, finished second.
Yeah, he banged around a few, didn't he?
Yeah, yes, he did. Um, you had, so at the start of the race, So Happy came in, forcing a lot of pressure towards the inside, and it was like a pinball.
Right.
And Renegade took
So,
the worst of it.
yes.
Now, I had said that in some shows I did, and it was pretty obvious. Breaking inside is very hard to overcome, because he did have to check, but Irad did a wonderful job having him settle afterwards and easing him back to where he was going to be, towards the back of the pack, well off the leaders. And when it was time to tip out, there was plenty of room. The field had spread itself out. Chief Wallaby ran very well, in my opinion. He was full of run late. He was checked. And then Alvarado had to alter course to the rail. And then he regained his momentum and finished well. With a cleaner trip, I feel he would have been right there. Maybe not win, but it would have been a closer finish. Renegade, so like I said, Renegade drops way back. He's closer than Golden Tempo, who's dead last, right? Irad moves at the perfect time, swings him out. He's where he wants to be, as far wide as possible, have his legs extended. He's going to come. But if you watch the above shot, I guess it's the shot. I don't know what they call that shot. What is it?
It's the overhead. It's either the blimp or the drone.
Okay, well, whatever the overhead shot was,
yeah,
and you watch the ride Jose gave on Golden Tempo. Like I said, before we're dissecting the Derby, it was perfection, absolute perfection, taking him wide and wider of his brother. And so what I did today, the postmortem, so to speak, I went back on the Louisiana Derby. I went back on all his races.
Yeah.
And even though he didn't run fast, he had the style that suited the pace setup here in the distance.
Yeah.
Now, my problem with him, when I handicapped the race and I looked at the Louisiana Derby, is that he lugged in to the rail. Or I don't know if he lugged in, he was outside. I don't know if Jose steered him in.
That's right.
But I was concerned about that, because the only way Golden Tempo, he's a sluggish early horse. He will, if he gets in traffic, he's no good. He's not going to be as effective. But they were able to get him. He was able to get Golden Tempo outside. Nobody outside of him. And he got the trip that flatters him.
Yeah.
And the perfectly timed ride to nail his brother in the shadow of the wire.
Yeah.
The question,
you raised the right question looking back at the Louisiana Derby. And certainly you're not the only one who wondered whether the horse took himself to the fence by drifting in, or did Jose make somewhat of a judgment that I'm not getting there. I'm going to maybe ride him conservatively to the wire, but he galloped out all right.
He did.
He
He
galloped out all
galloped
right.
out well. He
So
galloped.
you could argue that the way the final inside the final 16 played out in the Louisiana Derby was perplexing. But if you boil everything out of it, the only two horses you could take out of the Louisiana Derby were Tempo and Renegade and an emerging market. You couldn't take Pavlovian, the third place finisher, and you couldn't
Well,
take
no,
anybody else.
Pavlovian ran dead last.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Dead
And
last.
so if you like the Louisiana Derby at all, and really if you like the emerging market, which he certainly had knocks, then you sort of had to take General Tempo. And he's the only one who took money, by the way. He's the only horse really in the double-digit range who went from 36 to 1 early on, 26 to 1, and then he ended up taking money going off at just a little over 20 to 1. He was the eighth choice. He was the eighth choice.
Yeah. When you look at that race when you handicap the race before the race, as we do, you had to give the nod, in my opinion, to emerging market. And the reason is what he lacked in seasoning, he more than made up for it in what he showed in the Louisiana Derby. That grit, that gameness. Now, his lack of seasoning and just it wasn't his day. Pratt gave him the perfect ride. He had every chance to fire. Yeah. He had every chance, and he finished 10th. Commandment, who was my top selection, who I really liked, he had no real excuse. He did steady in mid-stretch, and he lost a little momentum, but he was not going to be more than 5th. The Derby is such a it's the hardest race to handicap because you trip, pace, ride, pedigree. So many factors come in to that last eighth of a mile.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, another mistake that I made in Golden Tempo is that Golden Tempo had run 1 mile and 3/16.
Yep.
And the others had not run that far, except for the horses out of the Louisiana Derby. I'm saying when you put those ingredients into a pot and you stir it, Golden Tempo would have risen to the top a little more if I had thought it through better. Okay. And I'm not going to ever say that I would have picked him first or second.
Gotcha.
But I should have included him, and I included Incredibolt, and I should have put in Golden Tempo before Incredibolt. That was my mistake, but I wasn't, I actually, if I could have put him higher, I still wouldn't have had, because I was all in on Commandment. Yep. So my betting strategy was Commandment had to run first or second, or I was getting nothing.
Okay. I think just summing it up as you just did, it's one of the most difficult handicapping challenges you'll come across because of the what ifs and oopses for which you cannot hold any strong opinion. I still think, been doing this for too long, and I'm never going to stand up and say that I'm an expert on finding the winner in the Derby. But, you know, all you can do is what if? What if it's fast, fast? Who does that benefit? What if it's slow, slow? Who does that benefit? And hope that the horse that you're interested in is going to be fair enough price for all the things you can't imagine. That to me is what the Derby is about. You know, Renegade, no one argued that he was not a good horse. He was in the one hole, which took over everything with him. If he's in post 12, he's not 5-1, is he? 6-1.
He's a clear cut favorite. He's
He's a
4-1.
clear-cut
He's
favorite.
4-1. He's 4-1. You know,
Yeah.
I'm very interested, Tom. I think it's 50-50 and maybe less chance that Golden Temple will run in the Preakness. I think
agree.
it's 50-50. I just think that the dynamics of the Preakness don't flatter his style as much as the Derby or the
No,
Belmont or the Belmont
the most,
at
the most,
Saratoga.
I think how Sherry DeVoe and the connections for this horse reacted to and felt when Sovereignty opted to skip the Preakness. Was there a conversation among them in it without knowing what they were going to be, where they were going to be this year, as to, gosh, Bill Mott, it's sad Bill Mott made that decision. If we had that decision to make, we'd go to the Preakness. It's just interesting to me. I wish I, could be a fly on the wall, because that conversation had to come up, because they're part of that whole upper echelon of training crew. So,
Yeah.
Maybe they feel the reaction to Mutt and Godolphin saying no is compelling for them to go. Maybe there's pressure.
I think it's going to come down. I think they're going to make a decision on Friday, and it's going to come down to how he bounced out of the race.
Could
I
be
think,
quarter cracks.
could
be quarter cracks.
Okay, well, if that's the case, obviously he's not going.
Yeah.
But I think that a decision will be based on that, how his feet are. Okay, and if he does go in the Preakness, it certainly adds an intrigue.
Absolutely.
Without him in the Preakness, I don't know of these horses I don't think a lot of these aren't going in the Preakness.
Well, I agree.
I think you're going to see a bunch of new shooters.
And Laurel says they got 16 possibles, including Golden Tempo. And that Bob Baffert's probably can't get Crude Velocity to work over the track soon enough.
Yes. Yes. I would say that's almost a guarantee. Crude Velocity is in the field.
And then the rest, many of the rest, Cherokee Nation is speed. Chip Honcho, who was a late scratch or declare from the Derby, there's speed there. Iron Honor, Napoleon Solo, Talk to Me, Jimmy. Now, I'm not talking about quality here yet. I'm just talking about, looks like the front will be loaded for the Preakness more so than the Derby was.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows who shows up? But I just also want to make one more point about the Derby.
Go ahead.
When Great White flipped and they scratched him, that delayed the race. It also forced the horses to be backed out of the gate, a lot of them. Now, I know, talking to athletes and knowing just myself thinking about it, in a certain sporting situation I might have been in my life. When I'm ready to go, when athletes ready to go and they're in the block and the adrenaline's pumping and they're ready for the gate to go, you're peaking right at that split second, and then you got to stop,
I,
and then you got to
I,
pull out.
yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think another, but Michael, I think another example, folks, would be that's analogous is the high level pro golfer who steps into hit and then the moron blows a horn. He backs out and he goes through his entire process again before he steps in the hit. Horses have no they're either ready or they're not ready.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
you make an excellent point. No one will know what that delay wrought.
you don't know which of those horses actually internally, mentally got affected,
Yeah,
because there's between rider and horse, there's such a symmetry.
yeah,
And when something is disconnected because of something extraneous, you don't know the effect that it would have. Nobody knows, nobody will ever know. But I just had to make mention of it because
sure,
it just changed. It probably was, would you say, about a 3 or 4 minute delay at least,
easily,
right? Easy,
easily.
yeah. So that's, that's like a hockey game where they're punishing each other, and then there's a delay to
Yeah,
review, or basketball game where
yeah,
where there's a coach's claim of a
right.
challenge, and now the refs are there for 8 minutes
Yeah, the
trying to
momentum's
figure.
gone.
The momentum's gone, right? The sweat
Yeah,
is everything changes, your whole body language, your whole internal system. So I just wanted to bring that up as an
yeah, no, it's a
extraneous
good
thing
point.
that might have,
Uh, Now, we got 2 whole weeks, between these two races. Um, and we should have a sense of the PPs of the probables by Friday. So, we'll probably have a week or so to consider what we want to do. It's generally a totally different race. Uh, it's last year was long. I mean, the rarity was the Derby winner didn't go. Okay, well that paradigm has been broken, and we'll know Friday if this year's Derby winner is going to go, and that will tell the tale for anticipation for this single Preakness at Laurel, where they're capping the crowd at under 6,000, right? Five,
no,
six
no, not
thousand,
6,000.
6,000. Yeah,
Is
the
that
cap.
right?
Yes, I saw 4,800. That's the
Are
first
you
number that I
serious?
saw.
Are
Yes,
you serious? Why wouldn't they open Laurel to like, how much could Laurel hold?
I got no clue. All I know is they're capping it.
At less than like 5,000
Yeah,
people?
yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
That's, that's because at Pimlico, when they ran
Oh,
there,
I know they do
they
100.
opened the infield. There's 100,000 in the
That's
infield.
100,000 in the infield. Yeah,
Right, right. That's nuts.
because 99,000 don't care that the race is going on.
That's like COVID year. COVID year there was a couple hundred. I
Yeah.
mean, that's crazy. But
So
nevertheless, the pools will be open.
yes, and so you started this program by talking about our symbiotic relationship at the betting window. I am not a parasite. I'm part of the family, and you prepare products, you do the work, you openly share that you bet what you're asking people to consider betting. And that's part of you that I've admired, for the years that I've known you. There's integrity to your work, because when someone calls you and says, "Wiz, you suck," right? Yes, today you go, "Yeah, you're right, and I lost too."
Yeah.
Uh,
There were a couple races on Saturday's card where the prices were so low that 100 out of 100 times I don't bet the race
yeah,
because I underestimated the prices and the exact. I still would bet $100
yeah, I
on a
know.
bet I normally made, because if I gave it out on the sheet
Yeah,
and I'm having people play that race, then I'm going to win with you and I'm going to lose with you. You see it, that ticket that I sent you. How about the last race? I bet a $4 exacta box because it was all firsters and none of my firsters were getting bet. So I knew I was flushing $48 down the drain. And I said on my sheet, this is an impossible race.
right.
It's, watch for who's going to be bet. And none of my horses were bet.
Yeah,
And so the two horses that ran 1-2 had already run. And so I was wrong, but I still bet $48
yeah.
a box for exactly what I gave out.
And your products are available every day. There's racing, and in 2 weeks they'll be up for the Preakness. And where can folks get them?
Well, I sell them at wizardracingsports.com. I also sold it on my sports site at wizardpicks.com, and I had a few nibbles there. And that's a site to check out, the Wizard Sports Picks. It's an outstanding site. So there, what Wizard Racing Sports is the main site, and also at the Daily Racing Form.
Okay. That's going to bring us to the end of this program of Get Tied On. We want to remind you that Get Tied On is our title because it's what starter Bobby Duncan used to say before he let the gate go, and he wanted his jocks ready. And this program, hopefully, week to week, provides some conversation and some information that'll help you ready your readiness to cash some tickets and enjoy the game that we love. Thank you. We'll be back next week.